Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, thank you so much for always showing up. We are now officially the number one vetpreneur podcast in the world. All thanks to you. Guys, this is going to be an amazing episode. They say don't ever meet your heroes. That's bullshit. Dale is one of my heroes, somebody that I look up to. If you don't know him, he's going to give you the rundown because he's got like 50 million things that he's done. He is the Swiss Army knife of badassery, Green Beret, Delta Force, bodybuilder, martial art author. He does it all. So, Dale, welcome to the show, brother. We finally got together.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks for having me, man. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. And I'm here, man. I'm here to inform. By the way, it's not about. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or anything when I share information. My mission, besides taking care of me and my family, is also to help other people, and share my life experiences, my knowledge, hopefully to help people be the best version of themselves. So when I put information out there, whatever I tell you, it's to inspire and motivate and not to brag. So the first thing I want to say is the mustache. Okay, everybody's like, "Where's your black mustache?" Hey, that's just the mustache, but it's the look, and the second thing, being an American badass. I gotta comment on that because it's not about being a badass. It's actually about being a good ass, and that moniker was bestowed on me during the TV show Stars and Stripes, right, with Terry Crews, Chris Kyle. And it started in the beginning when I introduced myself. All the guys in the background started saying things like American Badass, American Badass, and then it just caught on, right? So I wrote the book American Badass, not because I think I'm a badass, but really I think a badass, especially as a veteran, is a guy that's a good ass or a person that's a good ass, and it's here to help and inspire other people. Anybody can be a badass, anybody can be an asshole. I'm not that guy, but if everything I've done makes me a badass, and so be it, and I hope my mission was really, when I wrote my book, was to inspire and motivate younger men, because even back then in 2012, I looked around, I go, Jesus, man, what's happening to our youth, and so I thought, maybe I could write something that was inspirational and give younger men something to look up to and go, hey, you know what, there's something to shoot for, And not everybody has to be a soldier, but you can be a badass in anything you want to do. Just be the best that you can be. So, anyways, with all that said.
All right. Well, I guess we got to go. It's been a great show, guys.
I told you, man, I talk a lot.
I love it. By the way, before I forget, because I do have a traumatic brain injury, and if I don't mention it, I want to thank my friend Eric. He sent me this shirt. He sent me a challenge coin. He was on the show last month. And I love when people send me stuff, and I appreciate them. He actually has a company called Keto 5. We're going to be talking about keto in a little bit. And he also helps first responders and also veterans and police officers get healthy, get mentally, physically, spiritually. So, Eric, I love you, brother. So let me ask you a question, Dale, before we even get started. What is your definition of resiliency?
Resiliency, really, it's the ability to cope, right? And when we talk about coping, how do we cope in life? What helps us cope in life is confidence. Where do we get our confidence from? In my world, and in my opinion, and in my teachings, it comes from 4 sources of knowledge. If you know something, you have an academic or a formal education regarding a topic, for example. It could be, something, you read a book or you watched a documentary or you learned from somebody else. Knowledge. Second one is experience. The more experience we have in a certain area, the more we understand it, the more capable we are, because really what happens is we fear what we don't understand. So, for example, if you want to start a business, it's a scary thing. I don't know how to do this, never done this before. And a lot of people are put off by that. But if they have some knowledge, okay, well, these are the things I need, the essentials to start a business. Okay. And I got a little bit of experience, mowing grass and making money, so you got a start point. And then the third source of knowledge is your hypotheses. Your hypotheses is derived from your knowledge and your experience. You can better arrive at a potential outcome for a hypothesis, a what if scenario. And then the last one is your intuition. Trust yourself, trust your intuition. Your intuition knows everything. Okay. Your, the right side of your brain is, essentially, yeah, I like to think of it as like your computer, and it's the repository for all past experiences, all information, everything you've ever been exposed to is logged in there somewhere, right? So when you're thinking about something and you go, I don't know, but my intuition says this. Trust your intuition; it's almost always right. That's why when they say if you're taking like a multiple answer, a test with multiple answers, and you don't know the answer, whatever pops up first in your mind is probably going to be the one. Why? Because the subconscious recognizes that and go, that's it, guy, right? Consciously you're challenging that, but subconsciously it's going, hey, stop questioning it, just do it. So to build resiliency, you really need confidence, but the confidence is going to come from, again, education and experience primarily, and then trust your intuition, trust yourself. And then the next thing is be bold, be audacious. Too many people are afraid to venture out and do anything new in life out of fear because they don't understand it, right? That's really what it always comes down to. We fear what we don't understand, so we hesitate. And a lot of times we miss out on opportunities because, I zigged when I should have zagged. And it's like, I didn't know that, it's too late. The other thing is resiliency. So I'll add to that. Failure, people are afraid to fail for whatever reason, right? I don't want to fail because I look bad, and you're so full of yourself. You feel like you got to get it right the first time, or maybe at least the second time. But failure is nothing more than feedback. Failure is learning, right? Hopefully you're learning, right? If you screw something up, you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up. Take it as feedback, learn from it, and then readjust fire, or change your angle, your perspective coming in on it again, and reattack and do it again. If you fail again, readjust and do it again until you get it right. Eventually you'll fail so many times, you know everything. There's no reason not to succeed, right? I mean, look at, for example, Colonel Sanders, who started Kentucky Fried Chicken. I believe he got rejected about 650 times, literally for loans and everything else. And everybody's like, I don't want to buy your chicken, right? And so, boom, at the age of 65, he became an entrepreneur, and, the ubiquitous KFC franchises all around the planet. In fact, they're in Bali. There's several of them there. I just ate there the other night, in fact, twice. My wife picked up chicken twice, from there. And, it's a little more spicy than in the U.S., but nonetheless, it's KFC. Elon Musk. There's so many examples out there of people that had an idea or they had a mission and they just kept getting pushed back and rejected, but they didn't quit. They kept coming back until they, crossed the finish line. So, resiliency, I would argue that one, you got to learn how to cope, and that requires information and experience. Get it, find it, look for it, be a perpetual student. Two, understand failing's a good thing. Failing's a good thing. That sounds kind of weird, but actually failure is feedback. Failure is learning. Okay, don't be afraid to fail. Nobody gets it right the first time unless they're really lucky. And usually when they're really lucky to get it right the first time, if they fail somewhere else, everything comes crumbling down because they didn't learn all the essential mistakes and things that not to do. And then they think they're operating just good, and they get overrun by these variables they never ran into before, and they don't know how to cope with it. So, it's just like boxing or anything else. You're going to get beat up before you become a champion. And after you become a champion, you're going to get beat up some more, and you're probably going to lose again. Nothing's ever, it's the law of polarity, man. Everything swings left and it swings right, and it's, just expect that to happen. Hopefully you can be somewhere in the sweet spot all the time and you can recover. But so anyways, hopefully that answers the question, but that's kind of my take on it.
I love it. And I've done over 1,100 interviews, and you're the first one that ever said failure is feedback. Dale, I love that. I wrote it down. I think I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. That is so important, because a lot of people fail, but they don't fail forward. They just fail mentally, and then they give up. But if they realize that failure is feedback, then the more times you fail, the more feedback you're going to get, the more you're going to learn. So
absolutely, man. It's perspective, right? It's always perspective, and perspective, you got to manage perspective. If you can do that, then your expectations will be different. But if you're afraid to fail, or you're reluctant to do something because of failure, or it's going to be too hard. And here's the other thing is, right? So only about 0.01% of the population lives a life fulfilled, actually lives the dream life, their dream life that they always dreamed of. Think about that for a minute. I mean, over 99% of people out there are gonna die having lived a life unfulfilled. In other words, oh yeah, I did this, I did what I wanted to do. But if I could ask everybody right now, I want you to stop and think about what would be the perfect life. If you could have it, what would it be? Right. And then you think about it. And then the next question is, well, why aren't you getting it? Why aren't you living it? Right. What's stopping you? It's your limited beliefs, right? It's your limited beliefs. For example, and again, I'm not bragging. I live in Bali, Indonesia. Okay. I live in the Philippines, and I live in Panama City Beach, Florida. I live in 3 countries. I got 3 homes. I got businesses. I travel everywhere. I started out, well, let me put it this way. My mom and dad, my dad had 11th grade education. My mom had a 9th grade education. My dad joined the Army at 17. That was it. And so, they had, after my dad retired from the Army, he had the entrepreneurial spirit. He started working out of his garage, created an insurance business, moved it to an office, built a coffee shop next door, then his cleaning service. Between him and my mom, they hustled and they got it done. Nothing was given to me. And so, and by the way, it wasn't hard work that got me where I'm at. Okay. That's another misnomer. You got to work hard. Well, you know what? My opinion is if you're working hard, you're doing it wrong. Right. And so, and what I mean by that is, okay, if you're physically working hard, okay, yeah, that sucks. You need to find a better way so you're not working hard. But what I'm trying to say is, don't overthink it. It's really not that hard to be successful. And if you dream, have a dream of what you want to do, and you have the passion to get there, supported by a plan, there's no reason why you can't achieve it. Yeah, you're going to fail along the way. And this is what I tell people. There are 3 tenets for success, 3 tenets. Without it, nothing happens. First of all, you got to have a mission. So from the military mindset, for all the veterans out there, think of it like this. It's an operations order. Okay. What do I want to do? I want to open like my case, security company in Bali, Indonesia. Okay. That's the mission. Okay. All right. Now what? I got to have a plan. How am I going to get there? Okay. Now the plan doesn't have to be perfect. It could be really shitty as long as you have a start point, because the plan, as you go along, you'll continue to develop as you start hitting more variables, start getting more information. Even in the military, right? We write an operations order, and it keeps getting updated based on the intel updates. Oh, we've got more intel. Oh, shit, this changes and that changes. Oh, you know what? Some of the assets we were counting on are out. We got to make some adjustments, right? Or there's things that are not available. So that's what we do anyways in the military. So it's the same thing. So don't have a perfect plan. Don't worry about the perfect plan. Have a base to start with, okay? So we've got a mission. We've got a plan. Shitty plan, but it's a plan. And the third thing you got to have, without it, nothing happens. And that third thing is nothing more than passion. You got to have desire to see it to its end. Okay. And this is why in the military, the emphasis is on completing the mission. Okay. Mission first, get it done. Right. And so, and what the military is really saying is, no matter how bad it gets, see it to its end. Charlie Mike, continue mission. It's the same thing in the corporate civilian world. You got to have a mission. And actually, the way I couch it is like this: have a purpose, have a plan, have passion, the 3 Ps. Okay. If you have the 3 Ps, it's a formula for success. And sometimes I have to break it down a little bit more simpler than that. And I tell people this, I spent a little bit of time, I grew up. In fact, when I was 5 years old, my dad was stationed at, ready for this, Fort Carson, Colorado. Yeah, I actually lived in Colorado Springs, and I'm 5 years old. And I remember walking out my front yard and looking right at the Rocky Mountains every day, big ass mountains, right? And the snow-capped tops on. And when I think about this analogy, I kind of think back to that time in my life, which, by the way, was 55 years ago. I'm 60 years old right now. And so, yeah, I can still remember that. Yep, I still remember that. But anyways, I remember, imagine this: you're sitting in your car, you're looking out the window, okay, and you're looking at the top of that mountain going, I want to go up there. I want to drive up there in my car. Okay, that's my purpose. Okay, second thing I got to have the medium to get me there. What's that going to be? The wheels. I got to have wheels to roll to get the car up there. It can be steel. It could just be no tread, just the rims or rubber, but I got to have something to roll to get me up there. Okay. We'll count that as my plan. And the third thing I got to have is something to turn those wheels, to make them move. What's that? My engine. That's the passion. Okay. Without the engine, nothing happens. I just sit there looking out the window and the wheels ain't moving. So at the end of the day, my motor is my passion. Okay, that's what the engine is going to get me where I got to go. It ain't going to be perfect. Okay, but I'm going to keep tuning it. I'm going to keep working on it. I'm going to put a Ferrari engine in there, but I'm going to get to the top of that mountain. So, that's the way I like to phrase it for people to remember, right? Again, purpose, plan, passion, right? Looking out the car window, wheels are turning and you need the engine to propel everything. The window, and the other thing is I will tell people is stop looking backwards, man. Stop looking back, at the negatives, particularly at the negatives, but really it's just stop looking back. I don't know. I know a lot of veterans, man, that define themselves by who they were, and I'm defined by, former Delta Force, blah, blah, blah. Look, I was a Delta operator, but that's not how I define myself. Today, technically you could say I'm still an operator. Once you're an operator, just like once you're a Green Beret, you're operating your Green Beret. But, that's not how I define myself today. Today, I do some things off the grid besides run my business and other things. But I'm defined today by what I do today and my preparations for tomorrow. Everything else was kind of a stair step to get me to today where I'm at. I don't look backwards. I always look forward. It's like looking out the windshield. The windshield is much bigger than the rearview mirror. Okay. And if you're always looking back, the back is always to the front. And your past, particularly the negative part of your past, will be your future. So stop looking back. Let it go. It's behind you, man. Focus on the here and now and the front, and you'll be okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah. Well, first I wanted to, because I know we're not going to harp on the Green Beret and the Delta,
Yeah.
but the reason why I want to talk about it is because, I've talked to many operators, Green Berets, Delta, Navy SEALs, but then I also have plenty of friends like Mick Foley, Randy Couture, Jake the Snake Roberts, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, Lee Haney, and they said the reason why they're a success is because they just never quit. And, so talk to us about, and because I want to talk about the mindset of getting through the selection process. Because like when I talked to John McCaskill and Rich DeVinny, they were talking about how when they were going through the selection process, either they were going to die or they were going to do the next whatever it was, but they weren't going to quit. And I think that's why I think in business and in life, if we don't quit, we're going to succeed. But if we quit, we're never going to succeed. So talk about, how you made it through the selection process, not once, but twice.
So, all right. So here's the thing. I use the word sustained determination, right? Never quit, sustained determination. However, willpower, determination wanes. That's the reality. Okay. It's going to wane. Okay. That's one of the things about Delta Force selection. It's designed so that you destroy your own body. And when you start destroying your own body, you start destroying your mindset. Okay. When your mind can't cope with the fact that, man, I'm not moving fast enough. I'm in pain. I'm hurt. Okay. And I'm not sure if I'm making it to the objective. I'm not sure what my time is because they don't tell you what the task and condition, the tasks are, the standard are. They tell you the task and the condition, but they don't tell you a standard, right? You don't know how much time you have, how fast to go, other than do the best you can. So if you do the best you can, you wreck your body. It's a matter of time. I don't care what kind of shape you're in. You will wreck your body. If you're going 100% every day under those conditions, you'll tear yourself down. The thing about, determination, right? I'm determined I'm going to make it unless it kills me. All right, listen, like I just said, determination wanes. What gets you over that commitment? Because I'm going to do it. It's, determination, commitment. It's going to wane. What's going to keep you going? You know what's going to keep you going? Discipline. Everything's broke. Nothing's working. We're going to do it anyways. And I've been there. I'll actually share part of my story about going through selection. I literally, towards the end, I'm literally standing in a farm field in the mud up to my knees. It's pouring rain. It's freezing cold. It's been raining every day. It was just a mess. It was the year of the 100-year floods. The Cheat River had gone over the banks about 12 feet. Everything, Camp Dawson was underwater. Basically I swam through selection essentially. And so I'm standing out in the middle of this farm field. I couldn't do no more, man. My legs were done. I mean, I was just wore out. And I pulled my map out, and it looked like a soggy piece of toilet paper. And I'm trying to hold it up, and it was a sketch map. And I'm going, I think my RV is on a mountain somewhere in the fog in that direction, and I'm wondering, how am I going to get out of here? I can't move. I just can't move anymore. I just got nothing left in the tank. The determination hit E on me, and I'm standing there. And I'm not going to joke, and I'm not going to lie about it. I literally started fucking crying like a little girl. I'm like, I want to quit. I had enough of this bullshit. Psychologically, I was being defeated. And I need to just kind of get that off my chest for a second, right? And then the reasonable side stepped in and goes, hey, Comstock, what are you going to do? Nobody's coming to get you. You can stand here for the next couple of weeks, and they might not find you. Just be a scarecrow. You got to get out of here under your power. So that's the only way out, is you just got to do it. And after I had that conversation with myself, I remembered what the dream was. Okay. Remember I said earlier how many people had really lived the dream? Okay. Most people never lived the dream. They never lived the dream life. Okay. It wanes. It disappears really fast when things start getting hard, right? When they start failing, all these dream killers set in. I call them dream killers. What are dream killers? It's everything from, spouses to finances and health and sickness and money and employers and the law. And there's all these things. It's almost like Murphy's playing this cruel joke on you, and he's trying to keep you from succeeding. And it happens every day to all of us in every walk of life. They're dream killers. You got to learn how to overcome the dream killers, circumnavigate them, get around them, jump over them, whatever you got to do, but you got to get through them. And so I stood there and I realized, I remember what the dream was. The dream was not to get through Delta Force selection. This is where everybody fails. I'm going to give you a secret right now. This is where everybody fails. When people go, my mission was to get through Delta Force selection. Really? That's it? You know what my mission was? To be a Delta Force operator. The objective was bigger than the steps to get there. The selection piece was just one step. The goal was to actually become a Delta Force operator. And that was the dream. And that was really the terminal point for me, where I stood there and go, you know what? That dream is standing somewhere in a mountain in that fog up there in that direction. And the only way you're going to live the dream is you got to make these legs move. So here we go. Step it up one by one, like little pistons. My legs started moving again. And I got out of that mud, climbed that mountain, got to the top. And I got to be honest, man, I felt like, when I get to the RV, I'm going to tell them I want a Victor whiskey, voluntary withdrawals, Arden, But when I got to the top, I almost said it, and I thought about it for a second. Go, shut up, Comstock. You're on the top of the mountain. You can roll down it. Now, why would you quit here, right? It's like, right. So here I go. Give me our coordinates, and off I go again. Charlie Mike, continue mission. So, sustained determination. Well, I've heard a lot of guys say this. I'm not going to mention their names. They got podcasts. I went through Delta Force selection, and, I twisted my ankle, got an AOE, and they told me I could come back and bullshit like that. Let me tell you something. There's a guy on my team. Broke both shin bones, duct taped them together. Didn't tell anybody. Okay. Split himself and went through selection with 2 broken legs. Towards the end, after he got through the long walk, told the medics, hey, you mind checking out my wheels? And I'm like, man, both your legs are broken. Yeah, I know. And that was the guy. Guess what? That's the guy we're looking for, and it's not we have another saying. We're not looking for the best man. We're looking for the right man. Okay. There's a difference, right? There's some dudes out there, there's some studly beasts, man. And they go through, hoorah. Look how tough I am. They get to the end, they get in front of the board, and they bolo it because they ain't got the right mindset, And, we always say in the unit, we're not looking for shooters. We're looking for thinkers who are shooters. There's a difference, right? Everybody can shoot. Everybody can be a badass, but we're looking for thinkers who can be shooters, right? And so I think this is where guys fail is, the goal is to be a Delta operator, but I got to make it through selection. Man, if you focus on just making it through selection and not look at the prize, I think you're going to fall short. And that's where a lot of guys fall short. And that's what kept me going. And so I to relate to that a little bit more, I call it future pacing. Okay. And if you don't mind, I teach this in my program of optimal performance. I call it mind body engineering or psychosome engineering. And I talk about this idea of future pacing. And what future pacing is, literally tuning the nervous system for performance. And your nervous system creates conditions through the subconscious for you to move into that environment that you envision that you want to move into. I've done this. Listen, there's a reason why I live the life I live. It wasn't because I just kind of stumbled into it and somebody gave me something. No, I literally envisioned this lifestyle, particularly back in 2006. Yeah. When I was living I was living super large. In fact, I had custom homes and great exotic cars, great family, great wife. I was living the life. I had money. I had everything. And I thought about it. I was like, here's a funny story. I was laying in bed one morning, perfect wife, perfect house, perfect everything. And I go, man, what would it be like to live on Gilligan's Island? Remember Gilligan's Island? I grew up watching Gilligan's Island when I was 5 years old. I remember in Colorado Springs too, Fort Carson. I came home from first grade, and I watched the Flintstones and Gilligan's Island back to back. That was my fix. I had to have it every day. And Gilligan's Island, I still think about that. It's like, Gilligan had on these white slacks, never were dirty, red shirt, white collar, white hat. He was always clean. He had these two hot chicks, on the island, Howells and the professor. Everything was pristine. They were healthy. I was like, man, what a life, And I envisioned that kind of a life back in 2006. I didn't think it would come to fruition. I wasn't, but I programmed myself for it, and I didn't know it. Essentially, that's kind of the life I live today. It's not quite Gilligan's Island, and I don't wear white pants because they do get dirty. In fact, I only wear shorts, and I don't have to wear pants because it's warm enough all year round. But I'm kind of living that life, I got a hot wife, and I got, I live in this tropical environment, and I do what I want when I want. It's like perfect, And so it's future pacing, and future pacing is nothing more than a function of dreaming what you want to do in the here and now. Okay. And you have to literally immerse yourself in that feeling like it's really happening. It's a science. I teach the science of success. This is based on real science. Okay. Most people can't get their head around. It's like, how could you do that? Okay. If you're going to think like that, you're never going to go anywhere. You might go a little ways, but you'll never live the dream life. And there's another aspect to it. It's called autogenic conditioning. Okay. And I teach that piece of it also. And that's enhancing my personal performance literally overnight. Whether I want to run faster, jump higher, shoot better, play guitar, whatever it is. So there's two aspects of this thing: future and present conditioning, and it is a science, and it has to do with your nervous system. I use words like spinal tuning and things like that. It's epigenetics, but it's essentially there's a way to self-hypnotize yourself for performance. I learned this at the age of 15. Didn't know it was a thing. Didn't know it had a name, but I realized that, man, it's like suddenly I'm doing this superhero stuff. And I didn't know what it was or how it was happening. And I was literally doing it overnight. And so what got me through Delta Force selection is literally, I had a dream. I had a vision of being a Delta operator. At that time, I was the youngest operator ever to get through selection at the age of 23. Average age was 33. And I shouldn't have been there. If you look at, compared to all the other guys, Green Berets and Rangers, I had 4 years in the Army. I was in the infantry, a long-range scout. I was an expert at digging foxholes and cleaning my M16 under a tree. That's as good as I could get, right? And I'm 23 years old. I'm pretty young, and here I am, and I'm making through selection because I had a vision. I beat out. I believe there was in my class was 110 candidates. I remember counting 110 for whatever reason, and of the 110, I think 6 of us got finished it, and 3 of us got selected. And I'm looking around and going, man, these Rangers and Green Berets are just dropping by the wayside. And why is that? They're more experienced than I am. They're older than me. It's because they lack one thing, man. They lack purpose, man. The purpose was to be a Delta operator, and I took it seriously. I trained like a madman for it for almost over 10 weeks. I trained. I mean, all I could do is eat, sleep, and think Delta Force. I would get up at 0500 in the morning, put on an 83-pound rucksack. Yep, jungle ruck, 83 pounds, my jungle boots, my shorts, my T-shirt. I would ruck to work 5 miles, run to work 5 miles, get to work, drop my ruck, change my running shoes, go out with my platoon and do PT, whatever is on the books we're going to do. That's what I'm doing with them. And then I would go out in the afternoon again, and I would either do a 13-mile run, or I'd go to the gym, or I'd go down to the 82nd Division motor pool and climb stairs with a rucksack on. And then after work, I throw that rucksack back on, the jungle boots on, and 5-mile run back to the house. I did that every day religiously, man. I trained like a crazy man. My wife said, hey, honey, let's go to bed and have sex. I go, no, let's go to bed and talk about Delta Force, because that's how committed I was, man. There was nothing going to derail me, nothing. In fact, here's what happened to me. 2 weeks before I had to go to the selection, I got orders, all right, PCS orders, to go from Fort Bragg to Fort Polk, Louisiana to a mech unit. I'm like, what the hell? Now I got a clear post in the next 10 to 14 days. I thought, man, this is really going to affect, my preparations to go to selection. got to clear post, CIF, all that kind of crap. I got to get rid of this house. I got to move my family. And I'm thinking, man, what do I do? I'm not sure I can do both, and it's gonna affect my training. And I decided, you know what, I'm gonna play a Hail Mary play. That's what I'm doing, Hail Mary throw. And so I decided I'm not clearing post. I ain't doing nothing because I'm gonna be a Delta operator. That's how committed I was. And honestly, anything could have happened to me. Anything. I could have broke my leg. Maybe I had to hobble through on one leg, crawl through on my arms. I don't know. Anything could have happened, and I took a big risk, right, by not doing that. You know the deal. You freaking miss movement and all that kind of crap, and holy, I was looking at Charlie's Chicken Farm for a while, CCF, and but that's how committed, right? And that's how committed I was, man. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make this, even though statistically I got a snowball's chance in hell. I'm gonna do it. And I just remember the vision. Remember, I saw myself. Here's another thing that gave me motivation, inspiration. One morning I was rucking, Saturday morning, around 8 o'clock in the morning, I had my ruck on, my shorts, my boots. I was going to go do a ruck on Saturday morning. And this guy goes riding by me on a mountain bike. He's got blue jeans on. Looks like he's got jungle boots on with his blue jeans. He's got the signature Delta pager at the time, He got the big bushy mustache, and hair done back, and he rides past me. He turns around, comes back, rides around me, goes, "You getting ready for something?" And I looked at him like, "Yeah," And we knew, without saying, I know who he was. I was like, that's and he's like, "Good luck, man." He knew what I was doing, and I knew who he was. I was like, that's the guy. I want to be like that guy, riding on a mountain bike, asking people, "Were you getting ready for something?" And then I was like, man, I was in awe. Look at the mustache and the pager, and just gets to do all the cool guy stuff. And so that just gave me more incentive, and just made the dream more vivid, and more real for me. And so, it was that passion that kept me going, even when I was down and I was hurting. And I really felt like physically I had got nothing left to work with. And psychologically, it's starting to wear me down to the point where I'm literally got tears in my eyes. But I had to take a deep breath for a minute, talk to myself and remind myself, remember the dream, Comstock, remember the purpose, man. You want it, you got to work for it. You got to earn it. Nobody's going to give it to you, And that was, my life today is not because I made it through Delta Force selection. I was already prepared for Delta Force because of the way I was brought up by my father. And I grew up in a military culture. My father was in the Army for 20 years. I lived in Germany, Fort Lewis, Fort Carson, I lived all over the place, right? So I grew up in a military culture. I already had the military mindset, so to speak. I went through the agoge, if you will, modern day agoge, and so I was used to the culture. I love the culture, and I wanted to stay part of this culture. And I had this mindset, this military mindset, fortunately. And I already had that, which, the discipline, the trainings, and all the other stuff, the discipline from my parents, that when I got to Delta, it already prepared me for that hardship. And that was just, like I said, I'm not successful today because I was a Delta Force operator. I'm successful today because of the way I was brought up. Going through the Delta Force was just one of the benefits of my mindset before that. And I've just continued to cultivate a way of thinking. In fact, I tell people you have to change what you think to how you think. Here's the problem. Everybody is taught what to think, right? School teaches you what to think. The news tells you what to think. Your parents told you what to think. Your friends tell you what to think. Everybody's telling you what to think, right? And usually we accept that information because we're getting it from what we consider to be, figures of authority, people we respect. It must be true. They wouldn't lie to me, right? They must know this, they got a really good pitch, and so we buy into it, not realizing that, half the information in our head by the time we're 35, 40 years old is actually wrong or skewed. And we've been operating on bad data this entire time, wondering why we just can't get up that hill, because you got a bad operating system, right? Bad programming, because you got bad input. You got to disregard the information, and you got to change that information. You got to challenge those paradigms. And then what you have to do is look at how to think, and how to think is a thing. Everybody goes, well, I know how to think. I'm thinking right now. No, you're thinking. But when I talk about how to think, what I'm saying is how to think to be successful. And there's a way to do that. It is a methodology. It's grounded in science. Okay. You have to shape how you think, not what you think. And this is why I said earlier, Like I talk about neuro-linguistic programming, metaphysics, go into future pacing. I go into autogenic conditioning. I go into a lot of different types of sciences, and I put it all together. I support it with my own experience, and I also support it with data. So, what I've concluded at the end of the day is success is based solely on science. It has nothing to do with willpower. It has nothing to do with philosophy. Okay. It's how you think. Think of your brain, your subconscious, particularly as a supercomputer. Think of the consciousness, okay, which tends to be the left side of the brain, as the filter and the analytical side of the brain. It decides what data you're going to put in, what software you're going to put into the operating system, the subconscious, and that subconscious controls, ready for this, 95% of your behavior. It's the emotive side of the brain that controls everything, your emotions, your physiology, everything. Everything is run. What do I mean by that? When you drive your car, do you actually think about driving your car? No, you're doing everything but think about driving a car. You're checking out the girls on the road. You're talking to your wife. You're screwing with the radio dial. You're talking to kids. You're screaming at the kids in the back seat. You're doing everything but think about driving. Who's driving the car? Your subconscious. The auto programming is running the car, right? And so you program that. You used to program that consciously. You learned, okay, I got to sit there, buckle up, adjust the seat, okay, mirrors, But now you just do all that stuff and you go, right? And so it's walking. Heck, we've been doing this since we were first 2 years old. We learn how to get on our feet and start moving legs. And okay, now I can walk on these things. I can run on these things. I can jump on these things. Now we just do it all day long and don't even think about it, right? So the subconscious runs everything. And what we're really going to do is program the subconscious with our conscious thoughts. That's why it's important that any information that comes in, we really analyze the hell out of it and stop believing everybody. Okay. People are going to tell you all kinds of crap. So I'm going to segue on this. I'm going to look at my notes here because I did take some notes earlier. And I want to talk about some rules, if you will, my rules as far as it relates to success. First of all, don't share your mission with anybody. Okay. Everybody wants to talk about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they want to share it with everybody. Man, here's what I have learned. I'm 60 years old. I've had several companies. I've sold my first one to G4S Wackenhut. I sold my second one to a company called Intrepid. I've currently got 2 core companies right now, including a brick and mortar company in Indonesia. And here's what I have found out. When you start sharing your information, your dream, man, even your best friends will either directly or indirectly sabotage it, and I don't get it, man. It's like nobody wants to see you climb out of the box, and they want to grab you by your ankles, pull you back in with everybody else. Misery loves company. You've heard that, right? But people will tell you why you can't do something. And if you're smart, you go, well, tell me why I can't do it. And tell me based on your experience, why I can't do it. What did you do? Well, no, you never done this before, then you got nothing to say about it, right? Everybody's got an opinion, okay? But unless they've actually been there, then you shut up. You shut up, all right? If you're not holding me up and propping me up and pushing me forward, you're not on my team. So I found that, best thing is don't talk about what you're going to do. There are people out there that think I do certain things, and I don't tell everybody what I do. There's stuff I do right now really nobody knows. And if I tell them what I do, if I make it public, too public, then people will try to sabotage it. They'll try to get in the middle of it, or they'll try to use it against me to bring me down. Okay. Avoid partnerships. Okay. Everybody, hey, we, team up and we can work together. Man, let me tell you, that's a big mistake. I'm telling you right now, I don't care if it's family. I have learned that when you start partnering with people, eventually, and there's money on the table, there's issues. There's going to be drama. Money changes people's minds. It makes them crazy. It makes them do stupid stuff. I'm going through it right now with a guy. He's literally a criminal. And he's done nothing for me. And he's trying to sabotage everything I do because I'm actually successful. And he's wondering why he can't keep up, and he wants to be a partner in things. It's just not going to work. I already know that. I've had this happen before. I've had people steal my companies. I've had guys that I trusted like a brother as partners. Everything was done legally, paperwork and everything. And let me just share an example, guys, and girls, if you're listening. Well, I'm going to have it all documented, a lawyer involved, we're going to, divide this company and blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. That paper don't mean nothing. It's not worth in my case, one of my companies. I had a partnership with my partner. We brought in several investors doing really well, millions and millions of dollars. And then my partner and I had a rift out of the blue. I don't know what happened, but he got I don't know if it was planned on his part to take the company from me, and still, but because literally it was my company. But anyways, what he ended up doing was forging my signature on resignations, gave it to all the investors. Go, yeah, this guy, he's out of the company. He doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. Okay, now here's the problem. I have to prove he forged my signature, which I could do because I went through an insurance fraud investigator, and he actually showed me using a computer. He blew up the documents and showed me how this guy cut and paste my signature into a document. So it's forgery, right? Now it's going to cost me money. I got to take it to a laboratory in Georgia. They got to analyze it. Go, yep, it's a forgery. Then what they do is they go to a lab and they go, no, it's not a forgery, right? And it just goes back, forth, back, forth. But the biggest problem I had was we had one lawyer for the company. We had a corporate lawyer, corporate attorney. And guess what happened? When this guy turned his guns on me with the forged letters, who do you think the attorney was going to defend? Me or him? The attorney's representing the company. So the attorney is going to defend the company. And guess who he's going to defend it from? Me, right? Because he's going to keep making his money if he can save the company and give it to the bad guy. He doesn't care, right? So now I'm literally fighting my own corporate attorney, my partner, and all the investors who don't know any better, okay? And this is the kind of deviance, man, that, the devious people that are out there, man. This is why you don't trust nobody. I've seen it happen more than once, many times, okay? Many times. And I've had people try to wreck my company that are not even in my company. Okay, employees and so forth and so on. You're going to have to just deal with the employee part of it. But partnerships, I highly discourage that, because when you put money on the table, people lose their damn mind. They lose their damn mind. Do it yourself. You can do it yourself. I've done it myself many times. Okay, I learned my lesson early on. I was like, you know what? I ain't doing that shit anymore. Next one, trust yourself and believe in yourself. Don't beat yourself up. You make a mistake, that's okay. You're human, right? Failure is learning. Failure is feedback. Stop beating yourself up. It matters. Why? Because when you start thinking a certain way, it falls in the space of neuro-linguistic programming. And those words literally affect you at the cellular level, the DNA level. It starts to alter your DNA and at the cellular level. It changes your whole physiology, including your nervous system. Just keep the negative thoughts out of your head. Everybody always says, think positive. There's a reason you think positive. Most people say think positive. I don't know why. I'm telling you, the science says why. It bears it out, because it literally affects your nervous system and it will affect your performance. Believe in yourself. You can do it. We said already, failure is feedback. Be a perpetual student. Keep learning. I'm 60 years old, man. I'm on knowledge like a hobo on a ham sandwich, man. I'm reading all the time and searching stuff, I just boom, 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 boom. I'm just overwhelmed with information. And if you can see all my notes, in fact, let me real quick, since we're here, I want to show everybody something. This is really important. If you look at this folder, I don't know if you can see this folder, but all right, it's a stack of notes. I'll just take some of them out here real quick. These notes here, all right, you see this whole stack? These notes are for the last 20 years. 20 years worth of notes just inside this folder. And I keep adding more notes into it, because why? I just can't keep it all in my head. It's so much information, right? And I don't retain it. In fact, after 2 days, you lose 80% of the information. If you learn something, 2 days, you lose 80%. All right. If that information, you forget about it. So I have to write it down. And what I do, just to share with everybody, is one, I write it down by hand, especially if I'm watching something. Okay. And then I'll write it down. Then I'll turn around. I type it back into my computer on a Word document. Then I highlight it. Key points, and then I print it and I put it in my folder. You can see some of the highlights, right? That way I can just scan it. This is why is it with me? Because it goes everywhere I go. When I travel, this folder is in my backpack. And when I have a minute, some downtime on an airplane, I pull this thing out and start scanning the highlights. Oh yeah, refresh my memory then, refresh my memory then, right? So the more I refresh my memory, the longer I retain it. And so, they say knowledge is power, but learning is superpower, man. And that's the kind of commitment it takes if you want to be successful. Okay. It takes discipline. Discipline helps when commitment fails. When commitment starts to wane, that willpower, I'm so tired. Discipline will get you over that finish line. Right. So this is part of my plan. Write the notes, always study everything, all my my phones and my iPad, my computer's got tons of notes everywhere, you know. And sometimes I just open stuff up, I scan. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And I just keep doing that. My brain's literally my phone. Okay. I always tell people if I lose my phone, I just lost my brain because everything I know is in that phone. It's linked to my computers and everything else. Let's see. Okay, last one. Everyone will try to blow out your candle in hopes that theirs will burn brighter. Make sure you show up with a flamethrower. Okay. Everybody will put you down. Everybody will tell you why you can't succeed, why it's impossible, why you shouldn't do it this way, why you shouldn't do that way. Stop listening to these guys and girls. They've never done it. Don't listen to them. Even if they have done it, go, yeah, okay, noted, but I'm still going to make the final decisions because people they will steer you in the wrong direction. Maybe not always deliberately, but they'll give you their advice. And if you just buy into it, and they're a failure, then you're probably going to fail too. Be your own. I hate to use the word, piss off all the girls out. To be your own man, be your own person, right? Just be you and do your thing. Believe in yourself, trust in yourself, and keep an eye on the prize. Have a plan and have that desire to never quit. And the last point is don't take on something that you're not 100% committed to. Don't go, well, I think I'd like to try that, and then you try it because then you go down the road, go, that sucked, and you just waste all that time, right? Am I right?
You're right. I'm a big Shark Tank guy. I'm friends with Mark Cuban's brother, Brian. And even he says that Mark is never going to get involved in anything if you're not 100% in your business. He's not buying in, because if you're not bought into your business, he's not buying into it either. So I totally agree. So, let's talk for the last 15 minutes, because I love the way you talk about NLP. And I've learned it from Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, to use the RAS system to totally change your life. But you have the whole course built around this. So let's take a deep dive into the course and what you're offering and what you do with your course.
Yeah. So the way I got involved in this, by the way, I'm pretty busy. I do, security related stuff in particularly in Bali. I'm also, I'm still a consultant. I still actually do things. I still do recovery, repatriation, and rescue operations, solo stuff. I travel around and bring people back. I do those types of operations as well, other types of things. That it's probably not a good idea to talk about it online, but so I'm still active in that sense. I do security stuff, but about 6 years ago, my oldest daughter, scary time, she's 39 years old. I couldn't believe that. But I was like, wow, man, she's growing fast. Now I'm growing older fast. But anyway, she called me one day. She goes, Dad, you know what? She's a coach. And she goes, I follow Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, et cetera, et cetera. She goes, you really ought to consider being a coach, because I think, in her mind, she thought, maybe some bias there, but she thought I was better than them. And I got to agree with her. Honestly, I think Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, they all lay in bed together at night, looking at each other, go, man, wouldn't it be like to be Dale Comstock? Because they can never buy my experience. They can never have it, but I can make their money. They're linear. They're linear coaches. In fact, I heard, and I don't know if it's true, and I'm just going to throw this out there. Somebody told me Tony Robbins was inspired by a Green Beret. In fact, the whole boat on the, burn the boats on the island thing kind of came from that. I don't know if that's true or not, but, and I'm not knocking those guys. They're great at what they do. I don't care about making that kind of money. I really don't, because if I did, I wouldn't have all this other stuff. I do what I do. So I started getting involved in coaching, and my daughter, said she dared me to try it out. And it's like, hey, it's working out pretty good. People like it and paying me for it. And I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. So next thing I thought about was like, man, this is a great retirement plan, because I can do this when I'm like 120 years old, sitting, in my wheelchair, I'm just sharing experience and knowledge and helping people grow. How easy is that? I don't have to do anything, So I look at it like from that perspective. So it's my side hustle, and I started doing it, and here I am. And I've been continuously building on the business model, because I thought, well, what do I have to offer? Right. And I thought about it, and it's like, everybody keeps asking me, Comstock, how did you do all these things? How did you achieve all these things? And honestly, I was like, not really sure. And I started thinking about it. And I remember when I was 15, I learned it, the baseball game. And one thing led to another. So I started doing my research, started doing my homework. I got my PhD in alternative medicine, natural health. And there's a lot of emphasis on coaching and things like that. And I finally, with time and experience and knowledge, I realized, okay, I got something here. I'm going to run a program on how to be successful. Because I realized it's not about willpower. It's not about philosophies. There's literally a science that supports it. And so I've dug deep into it, and I've created a program where I focus on 3 areas primarily, 4 as an alternative, but the areas I focus on the most is I start with the body, right? And not trying to make people Superman or an Arnold Schwarzenegger, but basically teaching people what happens when you eat certain foods, things like that, because there's a nexus between your digestive system and your brain function. Okay, if one's off, the other one's off, vice versa, right? So I talk about that quite a bit, and I dispel a lot of rumors or lies out there, perpetuated by the pharmaceutical companies, the food companies, AMA, and et cetera, i.e., cholesterol is bad. No, actually, cholesterol is good. Okay. Stop lying to us. All right. They're lying to us. That's a fact. Okay. We can support that with science. Okay. Cholesterol is actually good. Eating meat's good. Eating egg yolk's good. Okay. That's all good. Fat's good. Okay. Well, what's the enemy? Carbohydrates. Too much, especially simple carbohydrates, right? I'm a carnivore diet guy, and I got to tell you, I swear by the carnivore diet. Holy cow, man. What a game changer that has been since I got onto it. So I go through that. Answer a lot of questions related diet, nutrition, weight loss. I had one guy, I showed him how to lose 44 pounds in 48 days on my program. And it was more food than he could possibly eat, and I forced him to eat it anyways. It was part of the program. But so I help people with that aspect. And then the second part of it, I go into, I talk about the conscious mind, particularly auto governance was what I call it. And I focus on stress management. How do you how do you deal with stress? And I go into areas like reticular activated system. You're right. General adaptation syndrome, the different types of stresses, how it has an effect on us, how to manage it. I have different, if you will, mind hacks, how I cope with stress, because we all have stress, no matter how tough we think we are. Every day, something is going to start causing us to have some level of stress. And even a little tiny amount of stress, like where the hell's my car keys at? I got to get to work. All right. Where's it at? It's like 5. I can't be late. If I get late, I'm going to fire. Right. That starts to really blow things up on you. And if you don't know how to manage that and control that, eventually what you're going to do is you're already affecting your immune system by doing that. Every time you're stressed out, you're literally suppressing your immune system. It's a natural consequence of stress because it's your body, your primordial side trying to survive, and it's shutting down all non-essential organ systems not required for combat. It's like, shut her down. I need all your nutrients and oxygen to go to the large muscle group so we can fight this saber-tooth tiger or run like hell, right? And so if you're always shutting down your immune system because you're stressed now, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get sick, okay? That's why people are always stressed out and angry and upset. They're not very healthy, okay? Somewhere down the road, they suffer for that. Then I go into the most important piece of it, which is the subconscious. That's where all the magic happens, right? That's kind of the centerpiece of my program. And I literally go into things like self-hypnosis, autogenic conditioning, neurolinguistic programming, future pasting. I go into the science of success, and I lay it out for you. I literally go into the physiology. I show you what's going to happen to your body, your nervous system, when you start thinking a certain way. And I will literally show you how to literally change your performance overnight. Literally overnight. You're like, holy shit, I'm a different person today, physically in every way. And it's measurable. You can see it. You can feel it. I give you an example. I had one guy, he's a power lifter, and he was bench pressing 500 pounds. That was his max. And I said, and he's a football player, pro football player. I said, if I told you tonight if I could add 5 pounds to your bench press by tomorrow, would that be significant? He goes, yeah, I only can max 500. Because I can't even eke out 501. I said, but if you did 505, that would be pretty significant for you, right? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. And I gave him the program. I told him what to do that night. I said, imagine put 2.5 pounds on each side. And I went through this whole process with him. I said, I want you to do that and then go tomorrow and lift weights. And he did. He called me back that day. He goes, dude, I just lifted 505 pounds. Like it was nothing, right? And the question is, well, everybody else's question will be, well, why did he lift 605 pounds? How come if you can lift 5 more pounds, why didn't your magic stuff make him lift 605 pounds? There's a reason why, because it's a function of the nervous system, okay? The muscular system, okay, it's the engine. However, you've still got to tear down the muscle fibers to rebuild them and make them stronger. But we have the ability to lift extra weight. We just don't know it because we have limiting thoughts. This is why you hear the stories about women picking cars off their kids. Yep. They never spend a day in the gym, right? There's money, there's power in reserve. Okay, you just got to learn how to harness it. And so that's kind of what I go into. And that's really the centerpiece of all that. And then I round it out with survival learning skills towards the end. I get a lot of clients that are the non-military law enforcement types, men, and they I call them the old man clan because a lot of times they're older guys. And the kids went to college, and mom won't talk to him no more. He's got nothing else to do. And he's 9 months pregnant. He's like, I want a new life. I want to live like Comstock. So, they missed out on a lot of things, but I go through survival learning skills, how to think, to protect yourself and your family on the street at night. You go to a restaurant, sit with your back towards the wall, watch the doors, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And Cooper's color codes of readiness. So I kind of delve into that a little bit in the end for those guys. And there's a fourth module that I teach for those that are interested, and that's business development. And on that topic, real quick, I kind of missed over that on my notes earlier when we were talking. When I talk about business development, when people ask me, how do you build a company? For example, in Indonesia, you try coming here as an expat or there as an expat and try to build a company. It's going to be 3 times as hard as it would be for any Indonesian. Why? Because they're going to throw all kinds of minefields in front of you. It's going to be very difficult to do. And so it's a challenge. And in my case, when I showed up, I looked around and go, hey, the security is not that great here. And there is a high terror threat in Indonesia. And I thought, I think I'm going to start a company here with canines, canine security company. And think about that for a minute. The country is about 97% Muslim. They tend to not like dogs, right? They love cats, but not dogs. And I said, you know what? I'm going to build a security company, and they're going to like my dogs. And guess what? Most of my dog handlers are Muslims. And now some of them are Hindu because I'm in Bali. But here I did. I built a company, and from scratch, from nothing, from zero. And boom, I did it, right? And I have a plan for that. And what did I use to build it? Look, forget the business plan, right? Go to get your master MBA, a business plan, blah, blah, blah. Man, all you need is a military operations order. I do everything off of military operations order. If I'm going to plan a vacation, I do an op order. I use the op order format. I'm going to build a business, I use the op order format, okay? It's very simple. What's the mission? Purpose, right? Boom. Okay, what's the plan? Execution. Boom. All right. And then the last thing I need is I got to just have the passion, desire to execute and do it, right? I factor into, logistics and S4, command and communications, all that kind of stuff. It makes it very simple. The Army or the military operation order is perfect, man, for everything, business planning, everything. It's a great format. Use that. You don't need this other stuff, man. And that's what I use for everything. And that's all I did. It's very simple. And I break that down for guys, and I show them how to do that. And I talk to them about, some of the minefields or roadblocks they got to look out for, particularly when it comes to involving other people that you want, hey, we can be partners and be friends. And no, man, you know what? Proceed with caution. That's all I'm going to tell you, man. I got a pretty good personality. I'm pretty easy to get along with. And maybe that's why people take advantage of me, but I have found that not just my company, with other people, everybody's always working against you, even at my company, I had guys doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, I got a lot of canines. I have to spend a lot of money on dog food every month. I mean, lots of, 45, 50 bags, 40-pound bags of dog food a month minimum. I had 45 canines with a street value of about $850,000. And, and I got to feed those suckers every month. And guys were actually stealing the dog food and selling them out the back door, because that was big money for them in Indonesia. And I'm like, why are my dogs so skinny? It's something like, what's going on here now? We figured out, yeah, they're selling damn dog food. They're not feeding the dogs, But outside of that, and we worked through all that stuff, and we got a great company now, and everything's going well.
So one thing I love about your course is you teach how to stack your wins. You teach how to get wins quick. Because a lot of times you see somebody gets a course and, well, I'm going to teach you how to do this in 12 weeks. Well, if you're not seeing quick wins, like James Clear wrote in Atomic Habits, if you're not seeing quick wins and you're not stacking your wins, then you're never going to finish the 12th, the 10th or 12th week. So I love that about your course. So how do we find your course? How do we find your books? How do we get in touch with you, Mr. Dale Comstock?
Yeah. One thing I want to say, I have a saying. I say this all the time. With every victory, I'm empowered. And with every defeat, I'm more resolute. I never quit. So every little victory, you know what my victory starts with? Getting my ass out of the bed in the morning. That victory number one, whew, made it, and that's how I look at it. And with every little victory, I get stronger and more motivated. Yeah. And when I do have a failure, like, dang it, you know what? Failing is feedback. I'll just readjust my fire and do it again. But I'm going to overcome it. It's going to make me stronger, right? But I'm never going to quit. How do you find me? You can find me on Instagram, Official American Badass, Dale Comstock. My daughter made that up for me, not me. So a long time ago, she goes, I'm gonna make an Instagram. So anyways, here I am. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name's on there. I am on Facebook. You can go to my website, dalecomstock.com. You can also message me through that. I'm not too hard to find. So, if you're interested in my courses, I do have other courses listed under dalecomstock.com. I also provide training courses. I have a lot of guys enrolled. For example, I do one curriculum where it's almost 10 to 12 months based on how fast we work, but I cover everything from training guys to be bodyguards to high-speed technical driving, CQB, surveillance, counter surveillance. I have an accelerated black belt course that within 10 months you go through my course, you'll earn a black belt in my system. So I have these other courses, but the centerpiece to all of those is the psychosoma engineering. And that's kind of the base, because what I'm doing is I'm teaching you to accelerate your ability to learn. If you understand psychosoma engineering, mind-body engineering, and the autogenic conditioning things I spoke of earlier, you can accelerate how fast you learn, and you don't actually have to physically do everything because you're literally programming the computer to operate the entire body. So that's how you can find me. I'm not hard to find. Reach out to me. I'm not expensive. I'm kind of cheap, but I'm not trying to make money. I'm not trying to get rich off of everybody. That's for sure. I just want to get compensated for my time. It makes me feel good. Why am I doing it? Because I like it. And, I've always been a teacher. I was a professor for Henley Putnam University, about 9.5 years online. Of course, in special forces, you're automatically an instructor, It's just what I do, man. I'm pretty good at it, I think. And so I enjoy doing it. And I like helping see people make the best version of themselves. So I guarantee results, by the way. And that's the other thing. I'm actually cocky enough to say I guarantee results. At the end, if you don't see results, and you go, Comstock, you suck, I didn't learn shit, I'll give you money back. Hands down. No problem. You won't find no drama on the internet about that either. Nobody's ever complained about it because it's not worth the drama.
Well, didn't Kid Rock say, the American badass, that it's not cocky if you can back it up? Right.
Yeah, there you go. Right. That's right. And you know what? And people used to say, you're cocky. I said, no, I'm not cocky. I'm confident. I'm cocky. I'm confident, And, you're arrogant. No, I'm not arrogant. I'm actually confident. And you might be arrogance, but I'm confident, because you know why it's arrogance to you? It's because you feel inferior, either towards me or of yourself. Right. But when you're confident, it can be misconstrued as arrogance. It can be construed as all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, I'm just confident in what I do. Why? Because I got knowledge. I got experience. Right? Yep. I got hypotheses, and my intuition tells me what to do. Bingo.
I love it. And guys, I want to thank Robert Garcia for introducing me to, because Dale, he was actually on in Shift Magazine. So I wanted to say, Robert Garcia, thank you for the introduction. Yeah. Guys, if you love knives, make sure you check out my friend Michael Peterson. He was a contestant on Forged and Fire. So if you actually want a hand forged knife, just go down below. Dale, brother, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that we finally got a chance to hang out. Tell your beautiful bride to thank her for letting me take some of the time. And I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man. Anytime. Thank you very much.
It. All right, guys, remember, vertical momentum, the only way to go is but up. This episode is going to be on verticalmomentumpodcast.com. So make sure you check out the website. This will be on it. Dale, my brother, have a great week.
You too now. Thank you, sir. Have a good one. Bye-bye.